Before him, I dated a guy in the NBA. So like,
yeah, I'm gonna date no WNBA player, like, bro.
Child, baby. No offense to WNBA players that are listening.
She was just taller. But is that offensive? We don't?
It's okay, baby. It's okay.
People this
baby, it's okay. It's okay. So prior to him, I dated really tall guys, and so I did think like, oh, well, okay, he's a little short, but I can work with it. He's over 6 foot. We can work with it. But to me,
hold on, what did you say? Whoa,
I dated guys that were like,
catching all type of strays today. No. What did you say?
You're wonderful. So the guys I dated before were like 6'6". So that's what I was used to. She dated
athletes.
Yeah, athletes. And so when I met him, I was like, so he wasn't my type in that way. And in other ways, he wasn't an athlete. And I was used to dating, athletes. And so I was like, this is different. But I never felt such leadership and such purpose. And it's so crazy because I told him what God called me to do. I was like, God called me to preach the world. He told me that I'm going to travel all over the world and preach about Jesus. And he was the first guy that was like, you are going to do it. You can do it. Every other guy was like, whatever. Or they tried to change it. Like, no, you're not going to do that. You don't have any connections. You're first generation. But he was like supporting. Like, go figure it out. Before I would preach, I would freak out. I would shake. I'd have to go pee 100 times. I was like freaking out when I first started preaching. But now it's like natural. I mean, obviously, after all these years, I preached for 12, 15 years nonstop every weekend.
Cornelius, what'd you see in her back then?
I mean, I saw future. I saw future. I saw family. She wasn't my type though.
Wow.
So I was born in Mississippi. Raised in Georgia, Atlanta, Southside, Riverdale, Riverdale High, stand up. That's the help away. But nugget you buck. But if so she wasn't my type because I wasn't around women like her. So like all the women I dated before her but it was like black women. My wife's mixed, and I went around mixed women. And so I wanted like a down south girl who could, throw down with some pork chops and like and like mashed potatoes and sweet potatoes and collard greens on a Tuesday. You know what I'm talking about?
There it is.
And then I meet her and she's giving me like cranberries and cashews as a snack. I remember looking at her, I was like, girl, ain't no bird. Like, what is this?
I was like, we need to clean out your liver.
She's like, no, you need.
Listen, we're back on another series of this. They are graced to be each other's, each other's not preference, each other's not type. You know what I mean? That's not proper English, but don't worry about that. Listen, we're back on another one. I find it interesting, and I say why it's interesting because I actually think that in this instance, it's not the same as the other ones we've watched, right? They both said they weren't each other's necessary type in terms of like for her, his height wasn't necessarily that aspect. He wasn't an athlete. That was her usual type, but she said she's attracted to him. He said, obviously, his type wasn't necessarily a mixed girl in terms of culture, heritage, I'm guessing, but, he usually like his women black, right? But he saw future, he saw, etc. Now, what I did not hear from him, though, really interesting, isn't it he was attracted to her? Now, I don't know if he said it later on, but I was going through my notes. I was like, I don't remember him ever saying that. He said he saw future, he saw that, but he never said he was attracted. I don't know. You know what? Maybe I need to stop being so shallow. Maybe I need to stop being so shallow and look at it differently because I didn't hear those words.
15 years nonstop every weekend.
Cornelius, what'd you see in her back then?
I mean, I saw future. I saw future. I saw family. She wasn't my type though.
Wow.
So I was born in Mississippi, raised.
Now, obviously, look, I don't think it was. I'm not hearing that he's mistreating her. I'm not hearing that he doesn't like her. I mean, they do actually talk about that later on. Actually, we'll do a second video for that. They both didn't like each other at one point, but again, I'm not really hearing necessarily that there's something. Now, I have to go watch the whole podcast because I'm sure if I go and do a whole live, there might be something more to it. But it didn't have that heavy tone that we've seen with other couples where it's like it almost feels like you don't like her. You know what I'm saying to you? Like they seem to have made their way through. They seem to have bonded. They seem to have, worked through some things as well, right? I know they lost a child as well, I think as well. So, they've worked through a lot of things. But I find it interesting because as I'm doing this series, I'm intrigued because we've had this conversation a couple of times online as well about how men are. And I've always said this, that I don't see how men are going forward and they don't find that person attractive. I just don't see it. I don't know how it works, right? And listen, whilst I do believe that God graces us and gives us the ability to do beyond, and the Bible says, "He who findeth a wife can obtain favor from the Lord," right? I also believe that there's a level of attraction. We had this conversation on TikTok last week, and I was saying about how men don't want to date ugly people. Like they don't want to date ugly people to them physically. So if I see a man that's dating somebody who they can't praise physically, and I'm not saying it's the be all and end all. We need more than that, by the way. Like there has to be more than just physical. You know what I'm saying to you? But when I hear a man not really speaking about that, I question it. Because why am I saying, like, do you know what I'm saying to you? Like I I've dated the same type, but not a type. You know what I mean? Like my normal type is a black woman, first and foremost. I like them dark skinned. Now, whether they come from Jamaica, whether they come from Nigeria, whether they come from Ghana, you know, I like them. Now, more than likely what kind of highlights all the women is probably the eyes. They've got similar shaped eyes or whatever. But other than that, right, they're different. So, I mean, my type is black women. You know what I'm saying to you? So if I'm dating somebody, I'm going to tell you, listen, this girl here is fire. Like, I think all my exes are fire. I'm sorry. I think they're fire. You know what I'm saying to you? Now, how they were dating me with these broke up teeth, I don't know. God bless these ladies. Okay. Shout out to them. But the smile. Let me stop. But the reality of the situation is like, I'm always a little bit concerned by that because she actually doubled it down twice. She actually said she found him attractive the first time, and she said she found him attractive a second time in the actual video. Like, she actually says it out loud. Like, oh, no, I was attracted to him. It just wasn't my usual type. So it's just like, when I don't hear him say the same thing, I'm like, oh, was there something there? I don't want to say anything there because, like I said, I like their vibe. As much as I think they didn't address the allegations, I think, in the actual video, necessarily. But
I feel like people throw. I just feel like people don't give a relationship a chance. Like, let him have the basics. You can work on that other stuff.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, for me, a deal breaker, I wanted a leader, and I wanted somebody who loved Jesus. That was like, all right, I can work with everything else.
Really?
I didn't want no beta man. I need you to be strong because I'm strong.
Did you care about what he looked like?
I cared about. Yeah, I want to be a black man.
Well, I'm talking about that he had to be attractive.
Of course, I want to be attracted to him because I felt like you should be attracted to your. Yeah, I was 100% attracted.
Well, you caught up on height and all the other stuff?
I was caught up on height. I thought she was going to be taller than me. So in New York, in the Times Square Center, they had these two big statues, and I hid behind it when she was coming down the stairs. She's like, "Yeah, I'm coming down the stairs," and I was trying to look and see who she looked like, and if she was taller than me, I was going to leave.
Isn't that crazy? But
he is kind of funny. I can't lie to you. But you hear her say like she is attracted to him, and it's interesting. Obviously, again, to hear that because I didn't hear it from him, and I'm not even going to say I'm concerned because again I haven't watched the whole video, and to be honest, there wasn't much where I was like, oh, that's what. Do you know what I mean? But it's just it's another one. I'm like, why is it that we find that and it's not all, by the way, it's not all. There's a lot of videos where the men are attracted to women. I'm just saying, in this instance, I don't know how I even came across this one. Just came across me. How is it that we're at a point where you're not saying it? Do you get what I'm saying to you? Now, I'm sure if I pressed him or someone pressed him, he'd be like, yeah, I'm attracted to her. But it's just like, it just didn't come out naturally. She's attractive or she's beautiful or she's, to me, that. But what he saw was future. What he saw was ministry. You know what I mean? Am I being too much? Maybe I'm doing too much. Let me just play it one time.
And so when I met him, I was like, so he wasn't my type in that way. And in other ways, he was an athlete and I was used to dating, athletes. And so I was like, this is different, but I never felt such leadership and such purpose. And it's so crazy because I told him what God called me to do. I said, God called me to preach to the world. He told me that I'm going to travel all over the world and preach about Jesus. And he was the first guy that was like, you are going to do it. You can do it. Every other guy was like, whatever. Or they tried.
What I do love is the fact that he actually supported her and he saw her giftings and he saw her vision and he sat with her and drove it forward. Well, by the way, they never had, I don't think they did not have sex before they got married, right? So these people were serious about making sure they stay pure. I'll do another video about this, but this is interesting.
Tried to change it. Like, no, you're not going to do that. You don't have any connections. You're first generation. But he was like supporting me. He actually put the mic in my hand, was like, go preach. I was like, I don't know how to preach. I haven't been a seminary. I don't know what I'm doing. He was like, the Holy Spirit can teach you all things. Go read and study your Bible. Go learn. So literally, he's the one who put the mic in my hand and was like, go figure it out. Before I would preach, I
love the fact that she's able to even speak so fondly about him, about how he would support her in her dreams and going forward as well.
Freak out. I would shake. I'd have to go pee 100 times. I was like freaking out when I first started preaching. But now it's like natural. I mean, obviously after all these years, I preached for 12, 15 years nonstop every weekend.
Cornelius, what did you see in her back then?
I mean, I saw future. I saw future. I saw family. She wasn't my type though.
Wow.
So he saw future and he saw family, but she wasn't his type though. It's not looking good. I don't like it, bro. Let me tell you why I don't like it. Because also Heather is a very strong individual. Now, she said already in the video earlier on that she doesn't want no bait, a male man, right? And of course, I think he had what we call a churchianity. He's now coming out of it though. And I think that's where later on in the video they're going to go to, and that's probably another video I have to do as well. But he comes out of the churchianity. So I wonder if she was whether she was attracted to him because he had the lead on the I know God kind of aspect, right? But in the end, it looks like it's flipped because it looks like more of a case that she knows more, quote unquote. Say, I'm saying quote unquote. Say, I'm not saying that's actually true. And it seems almost like it almost gives off like she's more leading in a situation, right? In certain cases with Heather Lindsey, with Cornelius. But again, that's just an eye test. That's not necessarily what it actually is. So I wonder if there is an attraction aspect. You know what I mean? Like, I just got to keep it a buck and keep it real. You get me? Because, you know, sometimes that can also affect attraction.
So I was born in Mississippi, raised in Georgia, Atlanta, Southside, Riverdale, Riverdale High, stand up, faster help our way. But nugget you buck. But if so she wasn't my type because I wasn't around women like her, you know. So like all the women I dated before her but it was like black women. My wife's mixed, and I went around mixed women. Yeah. And so I wanted like a down south girl who could, you know, throw down with some pork chops and like and like mashed potatoes and sweet potatoes and collard greens.
Now, this is a bit interesting, is the fact that he said, I wanted a down south type of girl. I don't like he. Because let me tell you this, like, okay, so for instance, like when I dated someone who was Jamaican, right? I've dated a few Jamaican people, right? I wasn't thinking, I wish I dated a Ghanaian person. I just thought, I like you, you like me, I'm down with it. Do you know what I'm saying to you? And I wasn't really attached to my culture at that point. Now, I mean, and then I dated a Nigerian girl, and I also a Ghanaian, right? Now I'm like, okay, I'm indignant. I want to date a Ghanaian girl. But if the Lord decides to shift it and move it to someone who's not Ghanaian, hey, listen, you won't hear me say it. You won't hear me say that because I'm like, God knows my heart, right? And he knows that if I don't want that, I don't want to shift into that. I don't want to pretend to shift in that. And I don't want to settle to shift into that just to make it work. You know what I'm saying too? Like, for me personally, it's like, hey, God could bring someone that's not Ghanaian, right, to me, right? But I believe that God grants the desires of your heart. And I say that in the sense of her being from Ghana, it's more than just I'm thinking about how pretty she is. It's about the culture and the traditions and how aligned I also am now, right? Because now I've started learning about Ghana. I've started going to Ghana. I've started understanding the culture more, dealing with the people more. Like my own mentality has shifted towards it. Now, if God then decides he wants to bring someone from Nigeria, I would not see them because that's not what I really wanted. And I don't think you should settle for that. You know what I'm saying to you? I don't think you should. But then again, that's me being locked in. And that's also me also being in a place where beforehand, I was all open to what types I had. Beforehand, I was more open. I was like, I don't care who it is. If it's Ghana, Nige, Jamaican, I can deal with them all. Now I'm like, no, I want a Ghanaian specifically. That's it. And I think you should stick to that, personally. Because if you're not open, it sounds like this. Like, you know, I really wanted.
On Tuesday, you know what I'm talking about?
There it is.
And then I meet her and she's giving me like cranberries and cashews as a snack. I remember looking at her, I was like, girl, ain't no bird. Like, what is this?
I was like, we need to clean out your liver.
She's like, no, you need to. She's getting, bro, no exaggeration. No exaggeration with this. She gave me cut up apples and almond butter. That was the first time I knew almonds made butter. I was like, almond butter, this is real. She's like, yes, you don't need to eat peanut butter because peanuts can spoil and they can mildew and they don't digest. And I was just like, yo, what is up with this chick? When she said she made me a snack bag, I thought it was like some Doritos, some chicken nuggets. And I look in the bag and I was like, these are like all natural unsalted tortilla chips. I never forget, we was on the plane, me and Dr. was on the plane. I love Mama Linda. Mama, you know Mama Linda, I love you if you watch this. Hey, first time I met her, I was like, yo, you got a black son. You know, anyway, I was like, she raised by white people. So it's like when they got time to like cooking and stuff, bro. You know, I went up there for Thanksgiving, bro.
We don't cook.
Because you know, I'm from the South. So my mama had a spread, like turkey dressing, oyster dressing, chicken dressing, you know. Turn around, pop with a spoon, pow, pow, pow.
And I would leave the room or go outside because I can't handle it. Like I can't handle that.
I said I didn't grow up that way. Yeah, I grew up with a community where you can get a whooping. You get paddling at school.
Yes.
You got beat in the grocery store by a cousin. Yep. Then when you got home, I got a whooping.
Absolutely.
And you get a whooping with whatever was around. Either the switch, you get a whooping with the belt, you get a whooping with the electrical cord. A hanger.
I never got whooped ever. Everything was a conversation.
My great aunt hit me with a belt buckle.
Yeah.
I was like,
I think balance is great. I think communication, but the Bible also says spare the rod, spoil the child. And so at the end of the day, it's like if they're not listening to verbal correction, then we gotta amplify it to the next level.
We had good balance. It worked out.
10 years of y'all marriage, y'all sit down to celebrate y'all's 10-year anniversary and have dinner. What was that conversation?
It was right in COVID. I just looked at my wife and I was like, do you like me? And she said, no. And she was like, do you like me? And I was like, nope. And then I look at her, I said, what are we supposed to do with that? And she was like, well, you're supposed to be the leader, so why don't you make it? And I was like, oh, so now you want me to, so now argument started. Now you want me to lead because you always want to take, you always want. And I was like, you know what?
And that's where we're gonna stop the video, because I think that's also part of why he couldn't say attraction. I'm not gonna say he wasn't attracted to her. I'm gonna say that the missing out of that language made me feel like, you know what? Because I never got the vibe that he wasn't attracted to her. What I got the vibe was that something's happening and I don't feel attracted to her now. I don't feel safe enough to be attracted to her. Because also men don't realize that emotional safety, you feeling safe in a relationship also affects your attraction level to the person. So him not also, as he kind of said it there, the leadership aspect in this relationship in terms of who leads is also a part of the attraction that's happening to him. There is an issue there, I believe. As much as I feel that he's a great somebody who wants to sit behind and let her lead, I think there's some issues when it comes to actual relationship in terms of who leads it. I think there is some issue. I know she says, obviously, you're the leader, you got to lead, but I don't know if I'm really seeing that. I'm not really seeing that, but that's my eye test. But I'll do another video on that another time. Yeah, because that just. Anyway, I appreciate guys. We'll see you again soon.